We have the Cabinet Secretary for ICT, Eliud Owalo, on the bench for the very first time. Good to see you, Waziri. Karibu sana.
Nice to see you too. It's my pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. Listen, you are our line CS as the media.
Yes.
You're the person, you're the go-to person for us.
Yes.
Question is, why is there so much hostility towards the media from government offices, from government officials?
I think in the converse, there's hostility towards government.
No. We are the checks and balances.
Yes.
You are being hostile, and not you particular, but the government.
Let me tell you, the official position of government is that we respect the freedom of the media as is enshrined in our 2010 constitutional dispensation. At no point in time has government stated unequivocally that the freedom of the media is not going to be upheld. We respect the freedom of the media, we respect freedom of expression, and as biased as the media may be, we still look forward to giving the media the space that is due to it as per our constitutional dispensation.
Do you think we are biased?
Well, Jeff, let's face reality. I believe that the media is still facing a hangover from the last elections. The media was not impartial at all during the last elections. And it seems that the media, up to today, has still not accepted that the candidate that they supported in the last elections did not win, lost the elections. Look, in a democracy, we expect that the media would be impartial. If you look at some of the recent instances during demonstrations, you see that the media actually is coming out to mobilize people deliberately and consciously so that people get out to demonstrate. Live streaming. That clearly shows you that the media is taking sides. But as biased as the media may be, we still, as government, respect the fundamental freedom of the media, freedom of expression, and we are going to go the full hog in upholding that. At no point in time in government have we thought about gagging the media or infringing the rights of the media. We'll give the media the freedom of expression, the freedom of association that is bestowed upon it by our 2010 constitutional dispensation.
So when you refer to us, not you, but the government refers to us as Azimio media or anti-government.
What do you mean by government referring to you? I'm the official spokesperson of government. As the Ministry of Information, Communication and Digital Economy, we are the ministry that is charged with the functional mandate of advocating government policy. At no point in time have we come out to say that we are against the media. Individuals in government may hold different opinions, and that again is their right. You can't deny them that right. As is enshrined in the Constitution, freedom of expression is an inalienable right that is due to anybody. But comments from individuals is not the official position of government.
When the Deputy President refers to the media as Azimio media, Awatu, we will deal with you. And you're the government spokesman, you just said. Do you talk to your bosses? Do you talk?
Oh yes, we talk every day. We talk every day.
Do you defend
us? But you cannot, you see, it is not for me to come out to defend the media. It is for me to defend the Constitution. That is what I swore to protect. If the media goes astray, it is not my functional mandate to come out and defend the acts of omission and commission of the media. That is not within my functional mandate, and I don't have that brief.
There is criticism and there is attacks.
Yeah.
You just mentioned the recent demonstrations. We were talking about Mandamanos.
Yes.
And we saw journalists literally being attacked by the police forces. We saw it. Nobody was arrested, nobody was charged, but the media they bore the brunt.
Let me put it this way. Any excesses by individual members of the police force are abhorred. That we condemn in the strongest terms possible. The police force must also operate within the law, just the same way we expect the media to exercise responsibility. Despite our political inclinations, we still have a country to uphold. We need an environment that is enabling for the private sector to thrive. Some of the instances we are witnessing in the past is tantamount to chasing away investors. And this is what we are against as government, that even if we are expressing the freedom of expression that is bestowed on the media, we must act within some reasonable levels of responsibility. because we have got a country to protect.
So the question now is, what assurances do you give the media moving forward? Because, there might be more mandamanos going forward.
Well, be impartial. We have at no point said that we want the media to go to bed with government. No, we are not interested. Be objective, be impartial, but you must operate within some modicum of honor and act of responsibility, knowing that we need an investment climate that is palatable to the private sector to invest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's the other thing. Some of your colleagues have threatened to pull out advertising to some of our networks. What assurances do you give us that that's not going to happen? Because that's openly threatening us.
You see, it is not the role of government to finance the media. It so happens that the government has been advertising in the media, but the government cannot be the single source of revenue for the media. You must think outside the box. If anything, without the box. You cannot continue doing your business the way you used to do it before. We are in a digital age, Jeff, and you cannot look at government as the single source of revenue for the media. No, you are getting it wrong. You must adapt to change. And the truth is that we are in a digital economy. You cannot continue doing your business the traditional way and expect that you are solely going to rely on government revenue. You are getting it wrong. And as much as I don't want to preempt some of the plans I have as the cabinet secretary responsible for that functional mandate, I don't see why the government should continue spending the amounts of money that it has been spending on advertisement revenue. We are going to re-engineer that space completely in the not too distant future. But not that we are against the media, only that we have to respond to emerging issues in the environment, including but not limited to technology.
Are you saying that you're going to make us redundant, some of us?
I'm not interested in you being redundant, Jeff. That is not my brief. What I'm saying is that anything that I do as the CS for Information Communication and Digital Economy must make sense. From a business perspective, it must be informed by logic. I'm not going to continue spending the whopping amounts of money that government has been spending on advertising revenue in this digital age. It doesn't make sense to me. And once I get approvals from relevant levels, I'm definitely going to introduce certain changes. I'm going to re-engineer the whole of that space.
You can't disregard citizen television. You know that.
Yes.
We have 52% of the market.
Yes.
You know that.
Yes.
You can never disregard it.
I've not said I'm going to disregard you. I've said I'm going to re-engineer the operations of GAA. It has to make sense to me to spend the money that we are currently spending. I don't want to preempt what I intend to do, but I've got plans of re-engineering the operations of the GAA.
Waziri, I want to take a break, come back and talk about the ICT, the ministry you've just inherited.
Yeah.
What's it been like? Have you settled in? I want to talk about this digitalization.
Yes.
Last week on Friday, the president announced 5,000 services will be digitized.
Yes.
5,000.
Yes.
And the rollout. We want to talk about those timelines.
Yes.
We want to talk about artificial intelligence.
Yes.
Digital economy.
Yes.
All of that.
Yes.
In a moment.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you too,
All
Jeff.
right. We're going to take a break, come back. Waziri, he's facing the fire tonight. Do you have questions, comments? Send them through. At Koinange Jeff, at Citizen TV Kenya, the hashtag Jiggy Live. Jiggy Live takes a break. We'll be back. Cabinet Secretary for ICT, Eliud Owalo, he's been answering questions all evening. We still have a lot more, and viewers have been chipping in and asking a lot of questions and comments. The first question is, this is a really interesting question from one of the listeners. Isn't it ironic that you want to cut government advertising to media, yet here you are using the same media to communicate to Kenyans?
You know, Jeff, the business of government is to create an enabling environment for the private sector and anybody else to thrive, to exploit their full potential, okay? So once we create that enabling environment, everybody else has to be agile in that operational environment. That is the way business is undertaken. It is not the business of government to get involved in business itself, yeah, to the advantage or to the disadvantage of any player, okay? So it's a question of re-engineering your strategies in line with what is happening in the operational environment. You have to react to change. If changes are taking place in your operational environment, but you are stagnant in the same space where you were before, you'll get out of business. What I'm saying is that in this digital age, the media must also reorient itself. You have to be agile. Strategic agility and maneuverability in that operational environment is what's going to make you survive.
Here's something else. You said earlier the government cannot be the single source of revenue for the media,
Yes.
right? For the record, this is for the record.
Yes.
Royal Media Services does not depend on government advertising for survival. Government advertising is less than 10% of our revenue.
I don't have a problem with that. What I'm saying is that it cannot be a substantial source of your revenue stream to the extent that if it is not there, or if it diminishes, then you go out of business. No. I was basically reacting to what you had said, Jeff, that do we want to fight Citizen? And I told you we are not interested in fighting Citizen or any other media house for that matter. What I'm saying is that there has to be prudence in utilization of government resources, and I've been tasked by that responsibility. And I'll fulfill that to the letter. I must ensure that any expenditure that we incur, not just for purposes of advertising, must be informed by business logic.
Yeah. You were talking about re-engineering and you have major plans for the future.
Oh, yes.
What are you re-engineering?
I'm going to re-engineer the operations of the GAA. I'm going to re-engineer, definitely going to re-engineer the operations of GAA. More so with respect to the amount of money that we are spending on advertisement revenue. I'm definitely going to do that. For example, some of the activities which are being undertaken by the private sector today, we can do those things within government. Tell me something. The circulation, the reach of the media houses cannot match the reach of Postal Corporation of Kenya. Look at the outlets, the Postal Corporation of Kenya outlets that we have today. Why should I, in this day and age, disregard Postal Corporation of Kenya for purposes of circulation of MyGov and go to the private sector? It doesn't make sense to me. Postal Corporation of Kenya can give me a reach of over 100,000 every day, which cannot be matched by the private sector. I can do that within government. Yeah?
Yeah.
As we speak today, we don't even have a mechanism based on that existing framework that was worked on before. We don't even want to have a mechanism of authenticating that the private sector, or the media for that matter, the print media, actually circulates what it pretends to circulate for purposes of MyGov. Yeah?
Okay.
So I'm keen on prudent utilization of resources. If I can do anything within that space, within government, relying on government entities, I'm going to do that. Let me give you another example. We spend about 60 million shillings, for example, to print, from the private sector, to print MyGov. Within government, as we speak, I can state without fear of contradiction that I can use a government entity to print MyGov at 3 million shillings. So why should I go to the private sector? It doesn't make sense to me.
You've been losing all this money all this time.
Oh, yes. Government has been losing that money, and nobody has cared to take corrective action. I'm coming in to introduce change. If I'm in government just to be part and parcel of the business as usual, then I've got no business being there. I must introduce change for the better, for the good of Kenyans. We are in difficult times today where the economy is not doing well, Jeff, and everybody knows that. There has to be prudence in the utilization of resources. And this does not just apply to the space of advertisement alone. Across all facets of government, we must ensure that there is prudence in utilization of public resources. We spend these resources, the government spends these resources based on tax revenue. It is actually taxpayers' money that we spend. We don't have any other source of money as government, largely. So we must ensure prudence in utilization of resources.
So you're saying
if I can spend 3 million shillings through a government entity to print MyGov, it does not make sense to me to go to the private sector to spend 60 million shillings. If anything, I should be surcharged for that.
You're saying you're the new sheriff in town. There's a tweet here from our good friend.
I mean, I come from the private sector.
You do.
Yeah,
you do.
And anything I do must be informed by business law.
Okay, there's a tweet here from our colleague and friend here, Macharia Gaido, from The Nation, right?
Yeah.
Macharia is saying, Jeff, you're letting CS Owalo get away with murder. Issue is not government nationalizing ad spend for the digital age, but about blackmail and threats directed at media houses. withdrawing or awarding advertising on political grounds is misuse of public funds. It's illegal. That's Mashari Gaido.
I've not talked about withdrawing government advertisement. I've said that I'm going to re-engineer the operations of GAA so that I spend money that makes sense. I must rationalize expenditure. I must rationalize expenditure. Prudence in utilization of government resources is imperative for all of us in government. Why should I spend 60 million shillings, when I can actually spend 3 million shillings within government itself? You only outsource when you must outsource. If you can do something on your own, then it doesn't make business logic to outsource any service, not just advertisement. So let us not look at it from the confines of advertisement alone. Across all facets of government, you only outsource what you must outsource. Yeah.
Waziri, let's switch gears here. Let's talk about the digitization.
Yes.
All right. Last Friday?
Yes.
The president launched digitization at KICC.
Yeah.
5,000 services.
5,084.
Goodness.
Yes.
When is the rollout beginning?
These are actually government services which are already about e-citizen. They are actually available virtually. Today, you can consume all those services virtually. You know, this is a fundamental milestone, Jeff. When we came into government, we only had a meager 350 services about that e-citizen platform. As we speak today, we have got 5,084 services as at last Friday. 5,084 services aboard the e-citizen platform. That is a fundamental milestone. And I want to appeal to you people of the media to also help us profile.
Oh, now you want our help?
No. But just by exercising your mandate, you have got a cardinal responsibility, Jeff, to inform the public. It's part and parcel of your mandate.
Yes.
Okay?
Absolutely.
Instead of just focusing on the negative or the pitfalls in government, when government realizes such a fundamental milestone, Jeff, with all due respect, help us propagate that in the minds of the Kenyan public.
Yes.
Really?
You scratch our backs, we scratch yours.
It's a cardinal responsibility for the media to inform the public.
Yes, but then when we become the checks and balances, then you start criticizing.
We have no problem with that. At no point in time have we said that the media should not exercise its mandate of oversighting government. Okay? Continue doing that. In fact, it will facilitate prudence in utilization of resources. And that's the direction we are going. We have got instruction from the highest echelons of government that there should be no revenue leakages in this government. And if the media can help us oversight that, we have no problem. We are very much aligned as far as good governance is concerned. Yeah.
Let me ask you about the digitization ID.
Yes.
Digital ID.
Yes.
Which many Kenyans associate with.
Yes.
Huduma number.
No, Jeff, let me put it this way. You remember that in our Kenya Kwanza plan, we have what is called the digital superhighway as a standalone thematic area. Within that digital superhighway, we have got fundamental ICT infrastructure of digital infrastructure that we have rolled out. Okay? We are rolling out 100,000 kilometers of fiber optic cable to ensure that those parts of the country which hitherto had not been connected or didn't have reliable, affordable, stable internet are connected. That's one fundamental thing we are doing, and that is work in progress. We are establishing and operationalizing 25,000 free Wi-Fi hotspots, targeting those Kenyans who are operating at the bottom of the economic pyramid. We are starting with markets because that's where our mothers and sisters involved in the itinerary trade are domiciled. We want them to leverage on technology for purposes of e-commerce, and also the bus terminal where our youth are domiciled. We are going a step further to operationalize a total of 1,450 village digital laboratories. This very today, I've actually, on behalf of government, I've launched 3 digital laboratories. I was at Maseno School in the morning at 8, at 10 a.m. I was at Maseno University, at 2 p.m. I was at St. Mary's Yala, 3 in a day. What we are doing is that we are going a step further to ensure that we have got these digital laboratories in each and every ward in the country. So what are we doing? We are creating an ecosystem of ICT infrastructure that would ensure that we can digitalize and government services and Kenyans can consume their services. We have already digitalized. Let me finish. We have already digitalized 5,000 services. By the end of the year, our proposition is that we shall have digitalized all government services. Everything will be available aboard technological platform on the eCitizen. The question now I ask is this. If you have digitalized services and you have put in place the requisite ICT infrastructure, should Kenyans still continue physically visiting government offices, flashing an identity card to consume government services? And the answer is no. We should have a framework through which government can confirm that you are really the person whom you claim to be.
Which was what
virtually.
Which was what Huduma number was supposed to be. And it didn't work. And Kenyans, you know.
I want us to look at this issue from a conceptual perspective, Jeff. Let us not be tied to the phrase Huduma number. No, you can call it anything. What I'm trying to say is that we want a means through which government can verify the authenticity of somebody technologically. You don't need to flash an identity card. You don't need to physically go to a government office to identify yourself using an identity card. You should be able to consume government services in this day and age from the comfort of wherever you are. As we speak today, are you aware that there are Kenyans abroad who still have to physically come here to consume certain services of government? And we cannot continue like that. We must have a framework through which government can verify people electronically. It has happened all over the world. India has done it, Pakistan has done it, Belgium has done it, Estonia has done it, many countries have done it, and those are best case examples that we can benchmark with. What we are not doing, Jeff, is to lift a solution that has worked elsewhere and then we implement it here. We are saying we can pick the bits and pieces from there, customize it to meet our peculiar situation, see if we can use our own technical resources by way of personnel and perhaps just get minimal support from outside and roll out the digital identity.
I guess the simple question was, what makes you think it's going to work this time? It didn't work with Huduma. And again, you don't want that word or it's been misused. What makes you think, I'm telling you, reassure Kenyans. I'm just the devil's advocate here.
Jeff,
how do you reassure Kenyans?
Jeff, I'm a student of change. I think why Huduma failed is because of the way it was introduced. First of all, that Huduma thing was introduced at a wrong time, very close to elections. So Kenyans became suspicious about it. Two, there was insufficient communication around Huduma. Whenever you are introducing a change program, you need to tell Kenyans, first of all, you need to tell the people why that change is necessary. You need to tell them how the change is going to affect them. You need to tell them what their role will be in that change program and the end result, how the change will impact on them. There was inadequate sensitization on that Huduma number. That's why it failed from the onset. If you don't back change with a comprehensive communication framework, change will fail. That's why the Huduma failed. Timing was wrong, ineffective communication. The idea was correct. But again, also for purposes of clarity, you need to understand that the Huduma number was mainly geared towards putting up an electronic database, not facilitating virtual transactions. The intention was slightly different. They were actually, Huduma number was actually intended for purposes of having an electronic population database. That was the intention at that point in time. Our focus is actually to facilitate transactions between members of the public and government. I should be able, using your biodata, Jeff, to confirm that you are actually Jeff Koinange. This is what we are talking about. Yeah, and if I can confirm that, it doesn't make sense for me to ask you as a government official to come to the office to consume government services. Let me tell you, if we have all government services on the eCitizen platform, if we have commensurate level of digital skills among the Kenyan public and we have got a digital identity, Kenya will not be the same again. We will facilitate efficiency and effectiveness in service delivery to the Kenyan public, and there will be a spiral positive effect across all facets of government.
So Nyayo House nightmares will be a thing of the past?
Believe you me, that's the direction we are going. You know, what people have not appreciated up to today is that we are going to run a paperless government. I was in India about a month ago. What they did is not to force people to consume government, to take the Huduma, to take the digital identity. What you need to do, and this is exactly what we are going to do, once we have got all the government services aboard technological platform, the onus will be on you as a Kenyan to look for the best way and means of consuming the services. If you still want to physically visit the government services with an identity card, the choice is yours. Fundamentally, once the benefits are well registered in the Kenyan public, most Kenyans will migrate from the physical ID to the digital ID. It doesn't have to be compulsory. The choice is yours. But it will make sense to everybody to be on that digital platform. That is what India has done. Now about 90% of Indians are already on the digital identity.
That's 1 billion plus people.
Yeah, we cannot be an exception.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You're talking about Kenyans in the diaspora.
Yeah.
So let's say those in, let's say, Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
There's more than 100,000 Kenyans.
Yes.
And a lot of them complain that when the passports expire,
yeah, they have to physically come here.
back
it's
home.
not going to, we must have, you know, some of the areas we are targeting through this digitalization is immigration. Yeah, and border control. We are targeting transport, we are targeting health, we are targeting revenue, we are targeting birth. The other day you saw we had got a virtual wedding, you saw that?
Yes.
Yeah, some of these fundamental, essential, basic services, essential services that Kenyans ordinarily consume, we are targeting those for purposes of full digitalization.
And it's going to work?
It's going to work. As we speak today, if we have a digital identity, Kenyans in the diaspora should be able not just to get the services, access the services virtually, but even to consume some of the government programs that we have. If we have got a young Kenyan resident in the US, they are also, you know, in the US, people assume that when Kenyans are out there, they are getting it easy. No, no, no. They are also just hustlers like Kenyans here. A young Kenyan in the US who wants to come up with a startup business should be able to leverage on technology to access money through the Hustler Fund. That is the direction we are going. We are going to run a paperless government. We are going to have a completely digital economy in the not too distant future. And it will be a game changer for Kenya.
Okay, you talk about the not too distant future.
Yeah.
What's the timeline?
This year, we are going to have a digital identity.
We've got 5 more months left.
Oh, yes. Let me tell you, these things are not rocket science. Look at even the digitalization that we have done so far. It has been done by young Kenyan youth here, and it has cost us almost zero money to do it. Yeah? So we have got the capacity, only that we don't believe in ourselves as Kenyans. There's a lot that we can do on our own, leveraging on the skills, competencies, and capabilities of our youth.
Let's switch gears here real quick.
Yeah.
You talk about a digital economy.
Yes.
That's big on your agenda.
Yes. And we are determined as government to pursue that to a logical conclusion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Clarify it for us. What do you exactly mean by that?
When we talk about a digital economy, one, we are going to digitalize all government services. So we are going to run a paperless government, okay? If we are running a paperless government, it means virtually Kenyans will consume government services electronically. That is one end result. Two, we are putting in place this massive ICT infrastructure I'm talking about. We are rolling out fiber. We are establishing free Wi-Fi hotspots. We are also coming up with the village digital hubs, okay? The direction we are going is e-commerce. With that infrastructure in place, it will not make sense to have direct interface between the seller and the buyer of a commodity. We are going to leverage on e-commerce for purposes of trade and entrepreneurship. That's another what? Another end result. Three, we are going to have a gig economy. A gig economy is a situation where you can be working for 3 different entities at the same time while leveraging on technology. Believe you me, it does not make sense anymore in this era of technology for somebody to be on employment which is permanent and pensionable. You don't need to work for one individual. No, you can be working for one entity in the morning, afternoon a different one, in the evening you are doing your own thing. That type of thing, a gig economy, that's something, again, that we should be ready for. So we are going to have a situation, but everything will be done on technological platforms. It will be a game changer. One, we will have more Kenyans in the income bracket. Those who hitherto were not involved in gainful economic activity will leverage on technology. One way we are going to create jobs in this country, Jeff, is through these digital platforms. We have the potential of creating about 1 million jobs. This digital laboratory that we are launching, the intention is not just for purposes of digital skilling, but our intention is to create jobs for the youth. We have had meetings with our members of parliament. We have had meetings with our county governments. And what we are saying is that if we set up a digital laboratory at the ward, members of parliament will not have to be running up and down government offices looking for jobs for the youth. No, the jobs will be right there in the village. We have got the potential of training those youth within those digital hubs, but correspondingly or simultaneously, we will also be reaching out to global technological companies so that we match the youth with the jobs which are available in the digital space. We will be able to create about 1 million jobs every year. In each and every constituency within one digital lab, we can create 300 jobs. On average, we have got 5 wards in a constituency. We'll be able to create 1,500 jobs within the village there. And believe you me, we will have youth resident in the village there but working for American companies. They don't need to travel to America to get those jobs. They'll be working for American companies or any other company domiciled in any other first-class economy, but domiciled there in the village. And they'll be earning in dollars, not Kenya shillings.
Is that a pipe dream or is that
It's not a pipe dream, it's a reality, Jeff. When the first digital laboratory was launched by His Excellency the President at Kabete, TVET here, one of the boys there, who was just 6 months old in that space, having just sat form for the previous year, told us astoundingly, it was too good to believe, that he was already earning an equivalent of about 200,000 in that digital space. Yeah, that is the direction. Even you, Jeff, if you don't adapt technology, you are going to become irrelevant.
Me?
Yes, you'll become irrelevant.
Me?
You will be past your sell-by date. That's the direction we are going.
But tell me something, Waziri, how sustainable is this digital economy,
yes,
considering the speed of evolution of the digital space? I mean, you wake up one morning and
yes,
boom.
Change is constant. The only thing that is constant in our lives is change. The operational environment is dynamic. And to remain relevant, you must be ahead of change. We have to do that. That is why everything we are doing must be informed by continuous research, continuous innovation, continuous creativity. Kenya cannot be an exception. That's the direction the world is taking, and we must be part and parcel of this 5th industrial revolution. Yeah.
Let me give you a quick example.
Yeah.
Mobile phones have killed the cyber cafes.
Yes.
Nobody ever talks about cyber anymore.
Cyber cafe, yeah, yeah.
This phone, the smartphone,
yes,
has taken over that.
Yes.
I mean, the speed of evolution
is tremendous, and it's going to get much, much better. You know, the direction we are going to have a situation where it will be between you, your phone, and the government. We are going to completely eliminate the bureaucracies that you witness within government. We are, just for purposes of your information, very soon, in another 2 months or so, you will be seeing the first set of cheap, smart-enabled phones in the Kenyan market, going for about $40.
Manufactured where?
Assembled here in Kenya. It's work in progress as we speak.
$40?
By the private sector. Yes, yes, yes. $40, a smartphone.
Which is about 6,000 shillings?
Yes. Or even 5,000, maybe, yeah. Depending on the dollar rate. About 5,000 shillings, you'll have a smartphone in the Kenyan market. By August, we will be launching the first set of cheap, smart-enabled phones in the Kenyan market, going for an average of $40 per unit.
And that's a game changer?
It's a game changer. Let me tell you, the opportunities which are available within this digital space are enormous.
Tell me something. You're talking about the digital ID and everything going E, right?
Yes.
How safe is our data?
You see,
especially, you know, everything's going to go to the government. How safe will it be?
You see, what we have got, all this has to be anchored on an enabling, sound policy, legal, and regulatory framework, Jeff. One, we have just established, we have operationalized the Office of the Data Commissioner. The mandate of that Office of Data Commissioner is to ensure safety and security of data. As we speak, because of cybercrime, we already have the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act, which governs the operations of that space so that people don't misuse technology. But over and above that, as government, as we digitalize, we are also correspondingly ensuring that we have got an elaborate risk mitigation framework around this digitalization. We have got a multifaceted government team as we speak, which is continuously monitoring, scanning the operational environment on a daily basis to see the trends in cybercrime and coming up with the mitigation measures. So we are alive to the fact that digitalization can expose us to cybercrime, but we are not going to stop digitalization because of cybercrime. No. What we need to do is to ensure that there is an elaborate risk mitigation framework around that digitalization space.
In the past, data has been misused, for instance, to register people in parties that they didn't belong to.
Yeah.
How do you mitigate that?
Those are inefficiencies or loopholes in the system. Those are issues that can be addressed by just strengthening. Those are lessons learned that you should inform what we are doing moving into the future. You don't become captive to your past. You use lessons that you have learned in the past so that you take corrective actions moving into the future.
You talk about cybercrime. What about cyberbullying, which is a norm, which is on the rise, which is, it can...
The laws are clear. If you are involved in that, you have to face the law.
Yeah, but
we cannot accept that.
Who arrests people? Come on. Cyberbullying happens every single...
Let me tell you, Jeff, the challenge we have been facing in this country is lack of leadership. Enforcement. We have got the laws, we have got the rules, we have got the regulations, but nobody has been enforcing them. And whenever you want leadership, it has to be exhibited from the top. If there's no leadership from the top, it will be that anomaly will be cascaded all the way down. As we speak today at the top echelons of government, I can state without fear of contradiction that we have got a government that is transformative, a government that is practical, a government that is geared on service delivery. And they'll go out of his way, as we'll go out of our way as government, to enforce any laws that are in place for the benefit of Kenyans. We are not going to have these loopholes anymore. The laws have always been there, but they are not being implemented. Good governance, for your information, will be a hallmark of this Kenya Kwanza government.
You're giving us a guarantee?
Oh, yes, absolutely, without fear of contradiction.
You are on the air right now.
Yes.
We will use this footage later on.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And let me tell you, the president has told us that there will be no revenue leakages in this government. And if within your functional mandate there's any revenue leakage, you will take personal responsibility. And all of us are aligned to that. And once those instructions are given, either you align or you ship out. There are no two ways about it. This government, Kenya Kwanza government, I can state without fear of contradiction, that will be a best case example for purposes of benchmarking internationally, with respect to good governance. Yeah.
Back to digitalization. How do you protect the children, Waziri? How do you protect the underage from exposure against everything that you see online?
Yeah.
And we're talking everything from pornography.
Yeah. You know, we have to digitalize, but we also have to act responsibly. I think it also has to be in the mindset of Kenyans. Not everything has to be governed by law. It starts from you and I, Jeff. We must act responsibly in this cyberspace. So the mindset, we need a culture and attitudinal change program so that we change the mindset of people. We cannot continuously rely on just laws and regulations. No. It starts from the culture. We must have a culture that is supportive to this digitalization agenda. You may have the laws, you may have the regulations, but if the existing culture is inimical, is not aligned to what you are trying to achieve, then you are not going to meet your goals and objectives.
When you have social media sites that carry inappropriate content, what do we do about that?
We have to rein in on those sites. The laws are very clear. They have to face the law. We have the Computer Misuse and Cybercrime Act. Those sites, whoever is actually coming up with those sites, they have to face the law. The laws are there. It's a question of enforcement.
You talk about modernization.
Yes.
Digitization.
Yes.
Keeping up with the 23rd century.
Yeah.
Downstairs in your building.
Yes.
There's a post office.
Yes.
When was the last time you were there?
I was there even as late as 2 days ago. At the Postal Corporation of Kenya.
Yes.
Yes. That is one of the entities that we are going to re-engineer.
How? How? Because it's still stuck in the 1960s.
Yeah, but the direction for Post Office, or for Postal Corporation for that matter, is e-commerce. It has to completely re-engineer. We cannot continue doing business as usual at the post office. We have to go the direction of e-commerce. And we are already aligned on that. We have had meetings with them. We have agreed on what we are going to do. And this financial year, it will be a different entity altogether.
You have traveled the world, Waziri.
Yes.
I've traveled the world. When I used to live in the US,
Yeah.
the post office came to you.
Yes.
You never went to the post office.
Yes.
Right? You get letters in your mail.
Yes.
Where you live, in your apartment or in your house.
Yeah. One of the things that we are doing, Jeff, for purposes of information, is to come up with a national addressing system on the basis of this e-commerce strategy is going to be anchored. We are going to have
physical address.
Yes, I don't really want to call it a physical address. You see, within this space of e-commerce, it cannot successfully be undertaken if we don't re-engineer our addressing system. So we are going to re-engineer that space and come up with a national addressing system that supports e-commerce.
I can't remember the last time I went to the post office. I think it was 1984 or something.
Yes.
And I fear to go because, you know, once I'll stand in line for hours. By the time I get my service, will be 2 days later.
Yeah. This is what we are saying. Why do you still have to continue visiting government offices or offices of government agencies in this day and age? That's why I'm a strong advocate for digital identity. You know, if we introduce digital identity, Jeff, even the traffic we witness in town will not be there because people will not be going to town. What will you be going to do in town? What will you be going to do in town? When was the last time you went to town?
CBD?
Yes.
I can't remember.
Yeah, so people will not be, most people go into town because that's where the government offices are.
Yeah.
We will not be having the traffic. Quite a number of our challenges will be sorted out.
By the way, former President Uhuru Kenyatta and his then deputy William Ruto, they launched a post-code service in October 2021.
Yeah.
Linus Kaikai was just reminding me a short while ago. 2021, October. Nearly 2 years later, nothing has happened.
Yeah.
Come on.
Leadership, lack of leadership at that point in time. I mean, we have got so many projects, so many initiatives which have been launched but not pursued to a logical conclusion.
Does that mean it's going to change now? Does that?
Oh, yes, absolutely. We must have leadership at all levels and in all facets of government.
You were talking about Kenyans who are very IT savvy.
Yes.
What incentives are you going to give them? Because now there's a tax imposed.
We have got tax incentives. We have got tax incentives for, as we speak, we are on the verge of even waiving the 30% local content for companies who want to invest in the ICT space. So that we have got an influx. We want to give impetus to the private sector internationally to come and invest here. Within our Konza Technopolis, we have got a lot of potential where technological companies can invest and even create a lot of jobs for our youth.
So you're going to give them points, you're going to remove the tax?
You know what the private sector needs is an enabling policy and regulatory framework for the private sector to thrive. And that is the work of government. The work of government is not to compete in business with the private sector, but to create that enabling environment. That is what we are doing. And as Ministry of ICT, we have said that constantly we are going to engage the stakeholders so that depending on unfolding events from time to time or informed by emerging issues in the operational environment, we are ready and willing to review the policies to align to those changes in the operational environment. We are going to run that ministry in a participatory manner for the benefit of the private sector and all other stakeholders for that matter.
Content creators, young Kenyans.
Oh, yes.
These smart ones who are, on the net all the time.
Yes.
They fear that the more money they make, the more you will tax them. You, not you, the government.
Yes and no. Yes, because the more you make, the more the tax that you pay. Okay? It's not just restricted to them. I think that is something that is applicable to everybody. That you make more money, you pay more tax. But it is not the intention of government to create bottlenecks for the creative economy. No, if anything, we want to leverage on technology to create an enabling environment for the creative economy.
So what do you tell those young men who are young men and women? They're fearful. They are content creators.
Yes.
This is their livelihood.
Yes.
They've just come out of a horrible 2 years of COVID.
Yes.
And they're just getting back on their feet.
The future is bright with technology. We'll create that enabling environment for them.
Speaking of technology, artificial intelligence, AI.
Yeah.
What are your fears and aspirations
I
as
have
the Cabinet
no
Secretary?
fears about innovation, Jeff. We'll always have innovation each and every day. Yeah. Even when technology came into being, people thought that we are going to have massive losses of jobs. Today, as we speak, technology is going to give us more jobs than the traditional white-collar jobs that we have in government. I'm a believer in change because I believe change is always for the better. If change is not for the better, then there is no need of having the change. So let us be receptive to the change. Let us not fear the unknown.
You're not afraid that they're going to take over?
Not really. Not really. Yeah. Technology will create more jobs for the youth.
Okay, from your lips. Was it from your lips?
Oh, yes.
Let's talk a bit about politics.
Yeah. What's wrong with politics?
No,
you know, we have said as Kenya Konza government, we are not interested in politics up to 2027. We are interested in service delivery. So I don't know, let's see, from what context you want us to talk about politics? Our interest is service delivery to Kenyans.
Yes.
Politics we'll do in 2027.
I'm talking about, okay, Siaya MPs.
Yes.
Or let's say Nyanza MPs.
Yes, yes.
Visiting State House, not once.
Yeah. Even 2 days ago we were there.
2 days ago.
Yeah, we were there with the MPs and we had a very, very fruitful discussion with the president.
What's the game plan?
No, we are discussing development of those regions based on comparative advantages of those regions. These MPs have actually got programs which are already in the plans, the relevant plans of government. That's what they are following up for the benefit of their people. They are not selfish individuals. There is nothing personal that they are pursuing within government. No. And I've moved from one office to the other under instructions of none other than His Excellency the President. We have moved around with those MPs, meeting cabinet secretaries within the last financial year to push some of the development priorities and programs that they would want to be rolled out in their constituencies.
One would argue that Kenya Kwanza is eating into Azimio's stronghold.
You know, in politics is a game of cutthroat competition. Cutthroat competition. Cutthroat competition is that you must remain attractive to your base. Even churches, people move from one church to another, isn't it? Yeah. So you must remain attractive to your base. If you are no longer attractive to your base, you are likely to lose support, some of your supporters. That is how it is. Just even in business, it is cutthroat competition. You must be ahead of your competitors. You must be agile. Agility, strategic agility is imperative. It's the only factor that will enable you remain relevant in the marketplace. You see, if a political party wants to continue doing political business the way politics was undertaken 30 years ago, and you believe that you will be aligned, you will be widening your support base in this era where a substantial proportion of the masses are the youth, who may not even know about the circumstances that 30 years ago, then that is wishful thinking, Jeff. The operational environment in politics or anywhere else for the matter is dynamic. And you must keep pace with the changes taking place in that operational environment.
As one of the most senior members of Kenya Kwanza government,
yeah,
coming from Nyanza,
yes,
do you see yourself as one of the leaders of the region? Will you take over the leadership at some point? Do you see yourself?
You know, Jeff, I've been given a task by President William Ruto, and my focus is to deliver on this mandate for the benefit of Kenyans. That is my preoccupation. To me, everything else at this point in time is an irritating irrelevance. I'm not interested in politics.
By the way, do you see yourself as a politician or a technocrat?
What's the difference between the two? Because one leads to the other, and the other leads to the former. The latter leads to the former. So, to me, you see, you get into government through a political process. Okay? You get into government through a political process. And governance is informed by politics. The problem we have been having in this country is that very innovative people who can provide good leadership shy off from that political space, allegedly because politics is dirty. Oh, no. Then how are you going to introduce change in this country? I would encourage more people from the private sector to get involved in that space of politics so that we have effective leadership. One of the challenges we are facing within our county governments is that of bad governance because of wrong leadership. We are electing politicians as opposed to people who know even what the functional mandate of a governor is. Some of the fellows we have as governors in Kenya today think that the role of a governor is to be chasing money from the national treasury here. That is not the role of a governor. You have to be creative and innovative so that based on your comparative advantage, you match your capabilities with the private sector so that there is capital inflow.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Name one or two governors.
No, I'm just, you know some of the governors we have. I don't need to name them. And
Vasily, let's go to the magic wall, get some feedback. There's been a lot of feedback tonight.
Yeah.
Let's read some of it. Coming in thick and fast. Sir Nixon Ndugira says, C.S. Eliud, we gave detailed personal information when registering the Huduma number that failed. Is all that data still safe, that it can't be used contrary to the owner's will?
Well, that data is still there. And even as we embark on this process, without going into too much detail, we will look at how we can leverage on the already existing data without letting that data get into wrong hands. We have got a framework that will ensure that we don't let that data get into wrong hands. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Edu Murira says, Buona CS, how are you intending to deliberately encourage minors to learn on how to create wealth in the digital economy without exposing them to explicit content?
Responsible utilization of the cyberspace. That's what we are advocating for. And it starts with sensitization. The do's and the don'ts within that cyberspace. We cannot just leave it to the laws alone. Yeah.
Kevi Benito says, ask CS any employment plans for the youth who finished their internship in the Ministry of ICT and Digital Economy under the Public Service Internship Program last April? Is there a chance of them being absorbed permanently as it was communicated at the start of the internship?
As and when opportunities arise, they will be given due consideration. That is still in the government plan. Yeah.
So don't lose hope.
No. There's no point of losing hope. Yeah. Yeah.
Dom Bowire says, in a thriving democracy, it's crucial for the government to uphold the freedom of the press. Media serves as a watchdog, holding power accountable and informing citizens. Let's remember that a government's respect for media is an indication of its commitment to transparency, truth, and democracy.
On that we are aligned. That's exactly what I said.
Yeah.
He's preaching to the converted.
He's preaching to the choir. It's Wandera says, in your plans as government to digitize the economy and ensure remote areas get connected to the network, what's the status of Starlink's bid to enter the Kenyan internet market?
That I've got to check. I remember something passed through my desk at some point in time. I don't know the status as at now. I marked it to some technical people. I can check that and revert.
Sawa.
Yeah.
Kenny Jameson says, my question is on how Gava Mkononi will benefit Kenyans if a mere certificate of good conduct takes at least 3 months to process, yet it should take at least 3 weeks. That's a good question. Certificate of good conduct.
As of today, it still takes 3 months? 3
That's
weeks?
what he's saying?
I don't believe so.
What's your timeline?
I don't believe so. We should be able to do this within 48 hours maximum.
Come on.
Oh, we should be. I'm saying we should be. I'm not saying that's what's happening. I don't see why in the era of technology it should still be taking 3 weeks.
Or 3 months.
Or 3 months for that matter. It doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
K. Ochieng 254 says, tuned, what's the CS doing in ensuring mobile data charges are reduced?
You know, we are talking to the telecommunication companies and we are telling them that the cost of data has to go down. But you know, the cost of any product is a function of the processes that go into that product. Yep. One of the things that we are telling the telecommunication companies to do is to share infrastructure. There is no point of Telecom laying cable here, Safaricom goes and lays cable there, Airtel lays cable there, or any other company, Liquid Telecom for that matter. We can come up with a framework that facilitates sharing of what? Infrastructure, telecommunication infrastructure. That is one of the fundamental ways of reducing the what? The cost of data.
And they can piggyback on each other.
Oh, yes.
Why didn't we think of that before?
But we have just come in and we are thinking of that. we could not think of that when we were not in government.
Okay. Sawa.
Yeah.
Namoneko says, AI is the most profound technological humanity is working on today. How are our Kenyan youth in rural Kenya getting prepared to develop and adopt this huge opportunity, artificial intelligence?
Technology. Technology is there. They have to be innovative. They have got to be creative. And we cannot be resistant to change. We must always pursue change. If there is changes, fundamental changes taking place in the digital space, let's embrace that. Yeah. We have to prepare them to embrace the change.
Absolutely. Chris Jordan says digitization should be mandatory for all government services with no exceptions from the chief at the local government. You're making that
100% digitalization. That's what we are aspiring. As we speak,
even in mashinani.
Yes. You know, one of the things we have done, Jeff, is to hold a meeting with the Council of Governors so that we are moving at the same pace. 2 levels of government, national government and the county government. As we digitalize here, they are also digitalizing within the what? Within the county governments. And we are aligned on that. And we are working together.
Eric Imani says, please ask the Honorable CS on the current status of Konza City. Is there investors' uptake of spaces in Konza? What's the government's agenda on the city?
This is our own version of the Silicon Savannah, Jeff, and we are determined to ensure that we have private sector investment. As we speak, we have already laid out the basic infrastructure at Konza. We have already set up a fully fledged data center there. And the government, many government entities and even the private sector are already utilizing that data center. What we are doing now is to try and get the private sector to invest in Konza. And in this financial year, you are going to see a major turnaround. Konza is not going to be the Konza that people have had registered in their mind that it's a what? It's a ghost
It's
city.
a white elephant.
A white elephant for that matter. No. Practically, Konza is going to be our Silicon Savannah under this Kenya Kwanza government.
You're guaranteeing us?
There is a lot of interest in Konza, and I can assure you that you are going to see fundamental change in that space.
Waziri, we have a couple of minutes left. I'm going to give you the final word to talk to us about the future of ICT in Kenya. Where do you see us going on this digital superhighway?
I want to prepare Kenyans for certain things. One, we are going to run a paperless government. So they have to prepare for that. There will be no manual processes in government. Okay? 2, we are going to end up with a digital economy. We will have e-commerce. We are going to have gig economy where people are not stuck with one job, can do multiplicity of jobs. We need to start preparing for that. Employers need to start preparing for that. 3, if we leverage on technology, we are going to bring in more Kenyans into the tax base. We will be able to collect adequate revenue, and we will be able to service our external debt using locally generated resources and even have surplus to finance both our recurrent and development expenditure. So my appeal to Kenyans is to work together with us in this space. We value the integral input of stakeholders, and I can assure Kenyans that if we leverage on technology, we are not only going to position Kenya effectively as the ICT hub of Africa, but we are also going to effectively position this great country of ours in the global space by way of comparative advantage.
It's going to take all hands on deck.
Oh yes, it is a whole Kenyan approach. We must work together. We can't leave it for government. In fact, even most of the fundamental things we are planning to do, the private sector is a major contributing component.
And so is the media.
So is the media.
Don't forget.
There is no exception.
Don't forget.
So is the responsible media.
Aha.
Yeah.
CS Eliud Owalo, thank you so much, my brother.
Thank you, Jeff.
Good to see you.
It's been a pleasure.
And I know you've had a really long day today.
Oh, yes.
I heard from Barack Maluka that you crossed the equator 4 times.
Yes.
4 times today.
Today, yes.
Alafu kwa kuja hapa kwa bench.
And I'll want to come again.
Thank you.
It's been my pleasure, Jeff.
We'll have you back.
Look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All the very best.
Same to you.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
Take a photo right now, but I'm going to take a break. Wow, what a great conversation there with CS for ICT, Eliud Owalo. He says the future is bright. It's going to take all hands on deck. How about that? Keep tweeting at Krenanga Jeff, at Citizen TV Kenya. The hashtag is JK Live. Don't go away.